welcome everyone to the regular board meeting of the Vallecitos Water District for November 6th, 2024. Before we begin, I'd like to announce that members of the public may watch the meeting live via computer or smart device by going to the district's website and clicking on the Watch Live icon. However, they will not be able to participate in the meeting remotely. Members of the public may also listen to the meeting live on their phone by dialing 888-788-0099 toll-free or 877-853-5247 also toll-free. When prompted, enter the meeting ID and passcode displayed on the district's website. We will now have the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Palmer, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes, well, as we honor the greatest country on earth, let's remember all our military and first responders who are protecting the very freedoms we're enjoying today. So place your hand over your heart, repeat after me. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, next up we have attendance. Please indicate your attendance. All present, thank you. Do we have any additions to the agenda?
No, Madam President.
Okay, thank you. May I have a motion to adopt the agenda for November 6th, 2024?
So moved.
Thank you, Vice President Pinnock, and I will second. Any discussion? Okay, please vote. Okay, the agenda is adopted. Do we have any public speakers?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. I believe we are going to presentations next.
Yes, thank you, Madam President, members of the board. So, as the board is aware, every quarter we announce both new employee hires, some of them that you've already met, but they'll be officially announced again, and some also new employee or existing employee accomplishments. So this is one of my favorite things to do, as it highlights our staff and their accomplishments. I'm excited to start this meeting, and one of the most important aspects of our district is the people. First, I'm pleased to introduce our new hires. Basically, they bring new perspective, diversity, and skills to the district, and they'll be integrated into our team and culture and provide basically continuous improvement to our organization. With that, please help me welcome the following employees. I don't know if any of them are here today. I don't see them. So we'll virtually welcome them. Kyle Hernan is our meter service worker 3. Ricardo Orozco is our maintenance worker. Alejandro Santos is our part-time engineering service assistant. Jessica Hatch is our part-time special projects and human resources. And Jennifer Cerna, which you've already met several times, is our executive assistant. So in addition to welcoming the new employees and new talent, basically I'm proud to recognize some accomplishments that happened. And this is over the last quarter, so we're talking from July 1st to the end of September. So each achievement, whether it's a new credential or a degree or whatever the employee or trained employee gets, is also basically enhances their worth and their value to the district, and also makes our district better. And the fact that we have a long tradition of employees going out there getting education that's above and beyond their job description makes me proud as a general manager, and also basically reinforces the culture of both professionalism and continuous improvement that we enjoy here at the district. With that, I want to recognize Joey Shore, who earned his Lab Analysis 1 certificate from the state of California. He also received a certificate in water technology from Palomar College. Emmanuel Olivas received a wastewater treatment operator in training certification from the State Water Resource Control Board. And Jason Hubbard completed his year-long leadership essential training with Aqua and JPIA. So Jason is here. So I think that concludes the employee quarterly update. So if you can, we'll give a virtual applause, and Jason will actually receive the actual applause. So thank you. So the second item that I have the pleasure of basically presenting is our District of Distinction Silver Level Award. So Vallecitos Water District basically just received the District of Distinction, the silver level accreditation from the Special District Leadership Foundation for its sound fiscal management policies and practices in district operations. The district board of directors and executive staff must show proof of both education and training in public governance, as well as compliance with ethics and harassment prevention training. Furthermore, we received the recognition the district's website must include postings of transparency, requirements including election procedures, deadlines, posted board meeting schedules and agendas, current district budget, and most recent financial audit, and basically a host of other items. Chris and his team have done a great job putting both the application together. It's quite an accomplishment for our Public Information and Conservation Office. And I really want to thank Chris and his team for basically doing the lion's share of the work on that. With us tonight is the CSDA Senior Public Affairs Field Coordinator, Chris Palmer, to issue a word. Chris, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, James. I think you did basically my speech for me, so thank you. Very, very efficient. Again, my name is Chris Palmer. I'm the Senior Public Affairs Field Coordinator for CSDA, but I'm wearing my Special District Leadership Foundation hat to honor you in earning the District of Distinction Silver level. So James went over a lot of the reasons, a lot of the criteria that you had to accomplish to earn the certification. And for those of you who may not be aware, the Special District Leadership Foundation is CSDA's 501c3 educational arm, and the main emphasis for that is we're dedicated to promoting excellence in special districts through these types of recognition programs that highlight and focus on implementation of best practices. So, some of the things that you've done are clean financial audits for a minimum of 3 years. You have essential policies and procedures in place. All directors and staff have completed comprehensive training and governance and all the laws pertaining to districts as public agencies. But Vallecitos Water District did even more and elevated to the silver level. And to achieve this, this elite status requires the majority of the board complete comprehensive governance training in addition to the continued education required to earn their certificate in special district governance. So just to give you a little math where you guys are at, so there's over 2,000 special districts in the state of California. Only 22 have earned a District of Distinction accreditation. So I'm not a math major, but you're right about at the top 1% of special districts in the state. That is something that your district should be very, very proud of. So it's important because it does demonstrate your understanding and respect of the responsibilities inherent in providing essential public services. It shows that you have clean audits, as I mentioned, you place an emphasis on continuing education, and you focus on having sound policies and governance, board conduct, district finances, transparency, and reserves. So, on behalf of the board and staff of the Special District Leadership Foundation, it's my pleasure to present Vallecitos Water District with the District of Distinction Silver Accreditation in recognition of your commitment to good governance and to ethical and sound operating practices. So, congratulations to all of you. This is a team effort.
Thank you. Are we doing a photo?
Yeah,
Dan?
we'll definitely
Okay.
do a photo, yeah, when you guys are ready.
Okay, all right. Let's do it now so that you can be on your way, if you
Sure,
wouldn't
whatever,
mind.
yeah. Pleasure of the board, right? James, you want to join us? It was a team effort, so.
I'm gonna make a suggestion that we all take a step back
So
so
we
that
get out from
are.
underneath these lights so that we're, between the two sets of lights.
I gotta kind of get in tight.
Yeah, we're all friends now, right? It's my second time in like 6 weeks.
Where's your ladder? Usually you have a ladder.
Very cool, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thank you for making the time, of course. Good seeing you. Good seeing you too. Thank you for making the time for me. Congratulations.
Yeah, they gotta send me the little. It was all for this meeting. Sure. I got dressed up in the morning for this meeting.
I'm gonna support you in that comment. Absolutely, you did.
Thought there was new Uber attire.
Thanks for making the drive, Chris. And congratulations to all of us. We're in the 1%, and that's quite an honor. So thank you to my colleagues and staff for fulfilling all the criteria to achieve that level. Thank you. Okay, moving on to consent items. Are there any items to be pulled from the consent calendar? Okay. May I have a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented?
So moved.
Thank you, Director Elletharp. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Vice President Pinnock. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, please vote.
Thank you.
Okay, and the motion passes. Thank you. So the consent calendar is approved as presented. And now we move to action items. Agenda item 2.1, fluoride in drinking water presentation and discussion.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Director Grosset requested this be agendized on a future board meeting to discuss not only a little bit of history of fluoride in the drinking water system, but also the most recent court action regarding fluoride. With that, I'm going to hand it over to our resident expert on this, which is Ed Pedrazi, to give a brief presentation on fluoridation in the drinking water system.
Thank you, GM Gumpel. Madam President, members of the board. Happy to talk about fluoride. It is a topic that I used to teach when I taught at Palomar College in the water sciences classes, so excuse me if I don't drop right into teacher mode. So here we go. I'm just going to give you a little bit of history of fluoridation in drinking water and why it's happening and the laws involved with it. So started off in 1901, a long time ago. There was a dentist in Colorado that realized a lot of his patients had brown mottling on their teeth, and he was trying to figure out what was causing that. And when he eventually found out it was the fluoride, calcium fluoride in the water, they were using groundwater, and that he also noticed that those patients did not have cavities. And so that was really how they kind of came about with figuring out that fluoride was doing something to the teeth to prevent cavities. In 1945 in Grand Rapids, Michigan, they were the first city to start adding fluoride, and they noticed that the tooth decay dropped by more than 60%. So it was additional evidence that fluoride was in fact helping prevent dental caries. 1949, they continued doing their research. Just a few years later, found that it was a sharp decrease among all the kids that were starting school. United States Public Health Service determined that this was the best thing to do for the public water supplies, so they started encouraging water supplies across the United States to start adding fluoride to the water. As of 2008, 72% of the U.S. population served by public water systems had access to fluoridated water. And the decision to add fluoride to drinking water is considered by the CDC to be one of the greatest public health achievements in the 20th century. In California, in 1955, the Fluoridated Drinking Water Act was passed, and then in 1998, there's an excerpt that I put in there from the California regulations related to drinking water, Title 22, which we follow all of those rules pretty much here at Vallecitos pertaining to us. And what this regulation says is that if you have 10,000 service connections or more, you have to start fluoridating your water if you receive the funds to install the equipment. Now, Vallecitos, that doesn't really pertain to us because we do not have our own water treatment plant. It is just the agencies that have a water treatment plant, and once they receive that funding, they're required to install the equipment. The funding schedule came out also with that regulation, and I chopped off the first four there. You can see Helix Water District and City of Escondido were in the top four. City of Oceanside, which does serve water to us at their waste treatment plant, they were all the way down the list on number 79, and then Liebenhain as well, number 95. We started receiving fluoridated water in 2007 because the Metropolitan Water District of Southern California received a $5.5 million grant from the California Dental Association and another nonprofit. So they started adding fluoridation at their 5 large treatment plants, which we received water from the Lake Skinner treatment plant. And then in 2008, San Diego County Water Authority received funding, so they started fluoridating at the Twin Oaks Valley treatment plant right above our Twin Oaks reservoirs that you've all seen. So that fluoridation started there. The last agency that we received water from to start fluoridating was Liebenheim Water District. They received funding from the same California Dental Association Foundation, as well as First Five California, and they started fluoridating in 2013. So all of the water that we're receiving, including from the desalination plant, is fluoridated water. Optimal fluoride levels have changed since the rule was promulgated. It used to be, this is a federal rule, and the state adopted it. So it used to be a range of 0.7 to 1.2 milligrams per liter fluoride was the range that they wanted to inject into the water supply. The reason there's a range is it's essentially trying to control the dosage. In the summertime, when it's hotter, you're going to drink more water, so they would reduce the amount in the water to keep the dosage about the same. Wintertime, then, it's cooler, people drink less water, so they would increase it up to 1.2. The US EPA has maximum contaminant levels and secondary maximum contaminant levels for fluoride. The 4 milligrams per liter is set primarily because there are a lot of groundwater agencies that have naturally occurring fluoride. If you get too much fluoride in the water or in your body, then you're going to start having some medical problems, which I'll go into next. And the secondary maximum contaminant level, which is non-enforceable, is set at 2 milligrams per liter. I will mention that back around 2015, 2016, several hundred scientists working for the EPA recommended they lower the maximum contaminant level from 4.0 milligrams per liter, saying that it was actually set too high. So that has not happened, but that did have an effect on what you'll see next.
Sorry,
And that-
just
yeah.
contaminant level meaning fluoride or other contaminants?
So they set for pretty much all chemicals that are found in the water maximum contaminant levels. So it's the maximum amount allowed before the district would be considered in violation.
Of multiple contaminants?
Yes, there's a long list. If you look at the national primary standards, there's a lot to remember when you go take your tests. But those are enforceable. The secondary standards typically deal with things more like taste, odor, color, things that may not be critical to health, but people are not going to drink the water if it's brown. So the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, this was in 2015, recommended that the level of fluoride in the water stay at 0.7 milligrams per liter. So that's the target that all of the treatment plants that we receive water from inject the fluoride. CDC continues to say that fluoride helps both children and adults prevent cavities. If you don't get cavities, your lower chances need fillings of having teeth removed. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. And the World Health Organization, they have set the upper limit for fluoride in drinking water at 1.5 milligrams per liter, which falls in line with what the scientists that were telling the EPA they need to lower it from 4.0 to down to 1.5 as a maximum contaminant level. Fluoride has always been a hot button topic, very political, even as back as far as the 1950s during the McCarthy era. People were saying that fluoridation was a communist plot to control the minds of Americans. There's been a lot of disinformation, but there's also been some studies that have proven some of the effects that you see here. The NIH, that's the National Institute for Health, excessive amounts of fluoride ions can cause all of the damage that you see there. It's always interesting to note that dental fluorosis is one of the first things that happen, and that's what that doctor found in 1901 was dental fluorosis, the modeling of the teeth. But you can also wind up putting holes in the teeth from too much fluoride, and that's one of the first things they'll notice. But there's definitely some other serious medical problems can happen from excessive fluoride intake. It's not so much a concern here in the United States, again, except for groundwaters that have it. So those districts are required to remove it down below 4.0 milligrams per liter if they find it in their drinking water system. India has a real problem with it, but that is actually due to pollutants and contaminants getting into their water supply. Some of the countries that do not fluoridate are there for you to see. A lot of European countries do not. I mentioned India has a real problem. Japan does not currently add fluoride. Some were fluoridating and decided to stop fluoridating. And then Hawaii in the United States is the only state that bans drinking water fluoridation. What most of these countries have done that either do not inject fluoride into the drinking water or have stopped doing it, they put it in the salt. So just like we have iodized salt to prevent, a health problem, and you can get salt that doesn't have iodine in it. Well, they put fluoride in the salt. So basically it becomes then a person's choice whether or not they want to add it to their system. And then to what is bringing us here today, Food and Water Watch Incorporated versus the EPA, that's the court ruling, basically saying that fluoride is a poison. It needs to be studied further. It should be following the Toxic Substance Control Act, and they have found certain cases where higher levels of fluoride, not necessarily the 0.7 milligrams per liter that we're required to maintain, but higher levels of fluoridation is causing damage to developing brains of infants. So they have won that court battle, and I'll let our attorney discuss that, but I'll go ahead and ask any questions anybody has of what I have for my knowledge.
Thank you for that. I think this is super helpful. So just to clarify, 0.7 is the target, 2 is the upper end, and there's no penalty if it's over 2, other than you should try to get it under 2.
So the secondary standards with the national level is 2.0 milligrams per liter. The maximum contaminant level is 4.0. So 2.0 is a non-enforceable. If we hit that, the federal government would tell us that you need to reduce it. They wouldn't be able to enforce it, but they would recommend to reduce it. State of California trumps all of that. They say 0.7. And that's for additive fluoride. Really, you're not gonna see any of the Southern California water agencies that deal with surface water like we do have an issue with fluoride being above 0.7. It's not naturally occurring in surface water. You're only gonna find it where the minerals in groundwater have leached calcium fluoride into the water. And that's not what they're using for injecting fluoride into the water. That's one of the complaints that the people against fluoridation have. It's not naturally occurring calcium fluoride. It's sodium fluoride, it's hydrofluorosilicic acid, or it's, look at my notes again, sodium fluorosilicate.
Got it. And there's a cost with adding fluoride to the water, yes?
Certainly.
Do you have a general idea of how much that cost is?
I do not, because we don't have our own water treatment plant. I know that just to install the equipment, which the state regulations do not require the foundations or the NGOs that provide the money, they don't require them to continue to put money forward for maintenance and chemical purchases. They only have to supply the money for the initial installation of the equipment, and then it's on the districts to basically put it in their budget and have the ratepayers pay for additional maintenance on that. But it's typically hundreds of thousands of dollars for a treatment plant, say the size of Olevenheim.
And the argument is they added fluoride to medically help people.
Correct.
Is there other things you could add to the water to medically help people? Vitamins?
As a water treatment operator, I will tell you, we'd rather not add anything to the water that doesn't help prevent health problems for drinking it. So we want to make sure that the water is as clean and safe as possible with as little chemicals as possible. That's speaking as a water treatment operator. That's our goal. That's why fluoridation of drinking water has been, again, a very hot topic and very political in nature, because it's adding a drug to the water supply.
Do we have control over that?
We have zero control.
Vallecitos has no control. This is what, at the state level, at the national level,
It's-
both?
It's federal and state, yes.
Okay.
So we do not have any control of what the treatment plants produce. They do send us the information, and I can tell you that they nail that target, 0.7 all the time, so it's, they do a good job of it. But yeah, we don't have any choice in the matter.
And that 0.7, that is, did I understand you correctly, that is more strict than other places in the country? So our water has the lowest?
It's my understanding the federal government is recommending 0.7 as well. I'm not sure if it's actually regulation outside of California to hit 0.7 as target.
Okay. Thank you. What other questions?
Just a comment, I mean, it says for information purposes only, and very informative, thank you. Bottled water, does that come fluoridated?
It will have to say so on the label. There are bottled water
So there
companies
is
that
some,
do
it has to
fluoride.
say on there this is
Correct,
fluoridated.
but it has to be as part of the ingredients of the bottle.
Okay, and then you mentioned it's a natural chemical
Mhm.
through groundwater, calcium fluoride or whatever.
Yep.
And sometimes we have to take it out. How is that is it filtered out?
Filtering fluoride is extremely difficult. So your typical filter that you might have, a Brita filter or one that's in your refrigerator door, will not remove fluoride. Even reverse osmosis, it only is about 85 to 95% effective in removing fluoride. It's a very small ion. So it's very difficult. The one benefit that Vallecitos has from fluoride in the drinking water is when we have a possible leak, but we're not sure if it's groundwater or not, we have the ability to test for fluoride in our lab. So we'll take a groundwater sample or a sample of the water, and if it tests above 0.2 milligrams per liter, which is what we have in our groundwater, then we know we probably have a leak somewhere.
And then what, you just have to dilute it more or something like that since you can't take it out? Or what do you do? I mean, I'm interested just in the nuts and bolts. How do you inject? You just put a certain percentage into the
The
system?
water agencies that are groundwater agencies, they would have to find an alternative source to blend it down.
That's
It's-
right. Okay, so you blend it
yeah,
down.
because there's no way they could afford to run it through reverse osmosis. Usually it's the smaller agencies that have that problem.
Very informative. Thank you, very interesting.
Very interesting. Okay.
Craig, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, we had several wells at Rancho California Water District that had naturally occurring fluoride, and we put them on blending plans that were approved by the health department.
Yeah, it's pretty much the only way you can control it at that point.
Because it reduces the concentration.
Yeah.
I have a couple more things here. You know, I think, and this was what I was driving at with my questions, is that the fluoridation raises ethical questions by effectively medicating the public without their explicit consent. And me, as a director, it also adds costs, which should be closely scrutinized given rising water rates. Offering fluoride alternatives, such as distributing toothpaste, I think could be a worthy thing. The salts, as you mentioned, could be, you know, giving people options but not forcing it on them is something that should always be, in my mind, the number one option. I'm going to read several citizen input statements. I got a lot of input on this particular topic, so I'm going to read a couple of the points that they said. So, fluoride alternative additives, including H2SiF6 in drinking water and NaF in toothpaste, are fully water soluble and classified as toxic. The FDA mandates warnings on toothpaste to avoid ingestion and restricts use for children under 6. The FDA prohibits the use of artificially fluorinated water in kidney dialysis wards due to the adverse effects on heart muscle at just 1 ppm. The original Safe Drinking Water Act restricts added substances in drinking water to only those necessary for sanitation. CDC scientists report that ingested fluoride lacks systemic benefits for dental health and over time converts normal bone into fluorapatite, which can weaken bones. I'm not sure if I said that correctly. And the recent federal district court ruling states that fluoride levels above 0.15 ppm have detectable adverse effects on brain development, necessitating regulatory action by the EPA to mitigate the risk. I think you mentioned that. And given these findings and the concern of the public, I would motion that we as the Vallecitos Water Board request that our representative to the San Diego County Water Authority and desal plant and other relevant water sources reevaluate this topic and consider immediate discontinuation of the addition of fluoride to our water system.
I don't think this is an action item, though, right? This is not,
This is an information item. You could request that it be placed on a future agenda with a second by another director.
okay.
The action item that he's
Okay.
requesting.
You're
I would request
requesting,
that, yes.
okay,
Was that a motion to put it on?
It was.
I'll second that.
okay. So we will have that on a future agenda item. Okay, great, thank you. Okay, thank you for the presentation. That was very, very informative.
I'm just glad I missed some of your classes at Palomar.
I quit
Unfortunately, he's
teaching.
retiring from us and them.
Yeah, you said it like a negative that you were going to slip into teacher mode, but I think that was I think that was great. Thank you. Okay, agenda item 2.2, award for professional services agreement for the 2025 Urban Water Management Plan.
While staff gets this queued up, I'll just kind of do a little bit of intro. So the board may know that the Urban Water Management Plan is a state document, and we do it roughly every 5 years. This year, the only difference is the Water Authority, which is our wholesale agency, has moved up the schedule. So normally it would be coming a little later, but they've moved up the schedule to meet their demands and asked every member agency to move up their schedule to provide them demand information for the Urban Water Management Plan. So staff will be presenting on the basically the professional services agreement on this item. And let me hand it over, I think they're almost ready, to Elizabeth with our Development Services Group, who is going to be the project manager for the Urban Water Management Plan. So.
Good evening, Madam President and fellow board members. I'm here tonight to request award of a professional services agreement for the 2025 Urban Water Management Plan. The Urban Water Management Plan supports the district's long-term resource planning to ensure adequate water supply ability to meet existing and future water needs. It evaluates existing and planned water sources in addition to forecasting water demands through 2050 for existing and future customers. As Manager Gumpel mentioned, urban water management plans are prepared every 5 years by urban water suppliers, and they're submitted to the Department of Water Resources, and the next updated report is due by July 1st of 2026. The district is seeking professional engineering consultant to help us prepare the 2025 Urban Water Management Plan. Staff solicited requests for proposals from multiple engineering consultant firms to help plan with planning, preparation, and reporting of the district's 2025 Urban Water Management Plan. We received proposals from 3 consultants, Hazen and Sawyer, HDR, and Rincon Consultants. Staff evaluated the proposals based on experience, team, schedule, scope of work, and rated firms based on this criteria. We determined Rincon was the most qualified and responsive consultant with a time and material not to exceed fee of $91,600. Currently, there's $30,000 budgeted in the fiscal year 2024-2025 materials and services budget allocated for preparation of this document. We anticipate funds, this amount budgeted will be adequate for the work that will be completed this fiscal year, and staff will be requesting additional funds to complete the remainder of this in the following fiscal year's budget. Preparation of the Urban Water Management Plan meets the strategic plan in two areas with environmental stewardship, water supply management regarding local and statewide issues affecting our water supply. With that, staff recommends the Board of Directors authorizes the General Manager to execute a professional services agreement with Rincon for $91,600 for preparation of our urban water management plan. And I can take any questions if you have any.
I have a couple of questions. So it's estimated, I just want to make sure I'm tracking. It's estimated that it's going to cost $91,600 for the full preparation of the urban water management plan. And the $30,000 was in the budget.
For this fiscal year.
Okay, and so will be 30,000 this year, 30,000 next year, 30,000 for the following year, or?
So the majority of the work will probably be completed next fiscal year, so I anticipate programming the rest of the money and requesting it with the next fiscal year budget.
Okay, so we've budgeted 30,000, 60,000-ish. It's going to cost us a third more, 91,600. One of the things that I feel like a way that we could save money is to spend less time on consultants. I know we spend a lot of money on consultants. And I wonder if there is, and this is a larger question, is there an opportunity for us to take advantage of in-house expertise that we have to get this started so we don't just turn it over to a consultant? Maybe they have, we give them less money than you're asking to review what we have done. I'm trying to think of a way to compromise, not just, first of all, going over budget than what we had originally thought, but secondly, developing our internal personnel, and thirdly, saving some money and not spending so much on consultants. So I'd like to hear some thoughts about that.
Well, one thing, it's not over our budget. We intentionally only allocated $30,000. We kind of estimated what effort we anticipated for the current fiscal year, and we budgeted that accordingly, because the materials and service budget doesn't carry forward to the next fiscal year. So you have to program the amount you anticipate spending for each fiscal year. So it's not over budget.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
I know in the past, my predecessor did, I believe, repair this report in-house. It was a specialty of his. Do you know what the cost was approximately to do it in-house?
Yeah, we end up spending about $75,000 to $80,000 when we did it in-house. But however, with a consultant doing it, it's $90,000 plus staff time. So the total bill will be probably a little bit over $100,000 when you add in all the staff time. You're absolutely right. What we're looking at different ways, both Jason and myself, looking at both different ways where we could utilize more in-house specialty. Right now, we don't have the bandwidth to that, and this utilization of a consultant this time, and with basically Elizabeth and her staff going through that, it's an opportunity for them to go through this process for the first time, learn what the consultant does, and then take those as a training opportunity for perhaps in the future we could do some of that work in-house. The other thing that I kind of preluded is that the Water Authority changed the schedule, moved it up on us, and some of the information they need is a lot of data up front for them to put their document together, which has added a little bit of additional cost and up that timing for us a little bit. So what our hope is, depend on, because first priority with the Development Services Group is taking care of both the development, basically plan checking and inspection and the needs. So right now, our staff is fully allocated and busy. I've been told they're very busy. But absolutely, we are looking at those opportunities, and utilizing consultant this time around will give that training opportunity, and we could see where in the future we could take some of that work in-house.
What comments? Go ahead.
One question, and then I want to continue on her line of thought here. What was the other bid for Hazen and the other group?
So Hazen and Sawyer was $140,000, and HDR was $100,000.
Got it. So they're the lowest responsible one. Got that. And then continuing on the president's thought here, I mean, we've done this report before. Not a whole lot has changed. Don't you know the inputs that have changed?
So the population growth will change, and then the report gets extended through 2050.
Sorry, go.
So I haven't personally gone through the process of how we integrate that new information and to estimate our future water demands. So that's something that we can learn to do as we go through this process.
I guess my question, it's this report is covering a period 6 years in the future, of which we know nothing about today, especially at the rate that AI is changing and robotics is changing, so that they're guessing as much as you're guessing. And this, to me, seems like the perfect opportunity for AI to say, hey, we have this report from last year, here's the inputs that have changed, rework this report based on that, and you just saved $90,000. Am I missing something here? Like, what additional fortune-telling expertise does Rincon have?
So I don't know if I could address your questions and concerns. Right now, they're basically going to make sure we meet the state statute and requirements, coordinate with not only the county water authority on their documents, and then, of course, just meet the criteria of the report. On staff right now, there's nobody on staff that's done this report at this time, but the intention is we're going to start bringing more items when possible, and if we have the capacity to do more in staff. As far as the AI portion, we haven't explored that, and we've talked to some consultants about different opportunities. I don't know if any of the consultants have explored that at this time also, so I can't really address that concern.
Just never feels good to pay 90 grand for essentially fortune telling of the future that is limited predictability, especially at this point in time.
What other comments?
My only comment is, thank you, interesting. I mean, from a 30,000-foot view, what's the purpose of the report? I mean, what information does it provide a state regulator? Is it just future use of water based on population?
And reliability and future demands, and then that actually will help the county water authority. They also have to prepare a similar report, so it provides them information to update their report as well, so that we can all estimate our demands.
So they're digging into just as far as treatment plants or purchase of water, future demands of population. Is it just water or is it wastewater?
Just water.
Yeah, and it rolls up all the way to the state level, and if without submitting it, it makes you ineligible for any state grants and funding. So that's kind of the carrot, so to speak.
So there's no fines, there's no fees, except indirectly by not qualifying for future grants.
Yep, and any type of state revolving loans and state grants, which we do have several projects that we're looking at trying to get grants
And
for.
we've been doing this for as long as you can remember?
I believe it started in 2005.
So it hasn't
Yeah,
been around
2005.
that long. Okay, 20 years.
Every 5 years since 2005. So the consultant fee back 5 years ago, I think was about mid-70s, 75,000-ish. So I can't remember the exact
I mean, how
number.
long does it take them to do this report? Is it a 6-month report?
It's 3 to 6 months, but it's not continuous because you have the inputs with the water authority, then you have to wait for the water authority metropolitan, then you have to adjust the inputs. So basically the water agencies give them their growth projection inputs by agency. The wholesale agencies, it rolls up to the water authority, it rolls up to the state, they come back with questions, answers, there's a lot of back and forth. And then they complete their documents, which is the water supply portion, and it rolls back down to the retail agency. So there's a lot of work that goes back and forth. It's a lot of time that's spent on it, a lot of coordination, a lot of talking to people from other agencies to get those numbers. So no matter what, that time has to be spent. And currently, and correct me if I'm wrong, this will be the first time our current staff is going through that process.
So based on the report, what do we do once the report is done? Do we see some of our weaknesses and strengths, and do we do anything with it, or is it just filing, okay, we just spent $100,000 on a piece of paper that goes to some regulator?
Yes, it's a state required, it's gonna go to a regulator. If we don't meet our conservation goals and stuff, then there will be adjustments that will trickle down into Chris's group for conservation. The last 2, we've met or exceeded our conservation goals and projected goals. But it's important because the district, it can be liable legally. We've actually been challenged on that document in the past.
Yeah, it's also used for water supply assessments for large developments, so it's critical information.
So that's what I want to get, if it's critical information, is if it's just a filing report, but, I mean, we use that information to make operational changes at a district level.
we don't use that information to make operational changes at a district level as how we operate and maintain our system, but is used by the land use agencies, development community, state, and regional agencies to make operational changes on water supply availability.
Thank you. It's basically a planning document that allows the planners to determine if they have enough infrastructure and supply to support future development. And then as Director Elitharp indicated, the developers tier off it for their CEQA assessments relative to their impacts of their developments on water infrastructure, supplies, et cetera.
Oh, that helps a lot. Man, we should send the bill to the developers.
So it's clear that this is an important document. And if I understood you correctly, this happens every 5 years, but we don't have anyone on staff that has developed this before. Is that right?
Except for myself and maybe Jason and Livenham? No? Okay, except for myself.
So I mean, I'll go back to the suggestion that I had. This seems like a fantastic opportunity for perhaps, rather than handing this over to someone to do, because if we're paying them $90,000 to do something, I don't anticipate this is going to be the learning opportunity that you're hoping it will be. If we hire Rincon to develop this document for $90,000, they're going to talk with you back and forth, but they're not going to mentor you. So my suggestion is that we have someone being mentored to create this document, and that necessitates a lower price tag because we're doing the work under the supervision of someone that knows how to do it. But we do pay them for their expertise, but we don't pay them for their execution. We execute it. We pay them for their expertise, rather than paying for their expertise and their execution.
So I believe we could probably get both co-equal goals here, because the scope that we're following is a similar scope that we've developed from back in 2005. We had no expertise as a brand-new document. Our in-house staff going through the process, because it's very interactive, it still is going to take a tremendous amount of in-house staff's time just supporting the consultant. Realized that we could do most of this in-house. In 2010, we wrote a completely different scope for just checking our work and doing QA/QC to have another set of eyes, which was tens of thousands of dollars less. So this scope and opportunity going through the process, even though there's no direct mentoring, the exposure is there and the document gets done. And the flip side of it is also capacity. Right now, our groups are very busy. And we don't have extra capacity to take on without consultant help. So a lot of things we do when we first look at the options is the first thing we ask is, can we do this in-house? And can we do it in-house for less money or time? So is it time, is it a cost issue, or is it capacity or capability? And so before we ever go out and bring this to the board, we have to answer those questions internally to say, we've looked at this, and whether it's a capacity, capability, or timing, we need the consultant help.
Question. Is this document 700 pages? Am I reading that correct?
The document could
Yeah.
be 700 pages. There's a lot of attachments.
I get why it's
appendices.
$90,000 now. Got it.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay. All right, thank you for that presentation. It looks like we are, may I have a motion to authorize the general manager to execute a professional services agreement with Rincon in the time and materials not to exceed the fee of $91,600 for planning, production, and reporting of the district's 2025 Urban Water Management Plan. May I have the motion?
Move to approve. Second.
Okay, we've got a motion from Director Hernandez and a second by Director Elitharp. Any further discussion? Okay, and I'll ask for your vote. Okay, the motion passes. Okay. Moving on to reports from the general manager.
Thank you, Madam President. Just a short one tonight. Just a recap of our Water Academy. We had some very excellent responses, and that I think are either about to be shared or may already been shared with the board for the Water Academy. It really went off well, and I'm very proud of all the staff members. Chris and his team did an excellent job, and operations and their team did an excellent job with our first time expanded Water Academy, where we basically showed more of our operations crew. So it was a great operations show and really drove home the point to our public of the level of service provided and the value they get for roughly 1 to 2 cents a gallon of what we have to do to provide them that water, and of course the sewer service, which is even less. The other thing is I want to, well, maybe I'll do that one last. So one of the big items, so November 20th is the next meeting, and there are going to be several big items coming to the board, including our normal rate pass-through. We're hoping to bring the employee handbook forward to that, as well as several other large items and some milestones from engineering on completing some jobs. So I'll try and manage that agenda the best I can to keep the action items still relevant, but not overloaded, so we don't have a 3-hour meeting. But expect that one to be a little bit longer because of just the volume and the importance of what's going on in that meeting. One of the other items I is mentioning is a possible prepayment with the Water Authority for the fixed fees, which actually shows a discount and some money savings to the district. And last but not least, I'd like to officially announce that Jason Hubbard has been selected as our new Assistant General Manager. So he's not it yet, though. So 12:01 on November 8th, he'll be the Assistant GM. So there'll be a transition time as he's onboarding a new supervisor, and obviously we don't have his replacement yet. So he probably won't be physically moving upstairs until January. So we'll call him a part-time AGM until then. So feel free to make fun of him or congratulate him as you see fit. But congratulations, Jason. It was a very competitive field. We went through 2 rounds of interviews, asked some very tough questions, and definitely, I think, made him sweat through the process. So that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. District Legal Counsel.
Thank you. Just a brief item. I know there was a reference somewhere to the Levine Act. We're in the middle of this, but Levine Act was amended pursuant to a Senate bill, which new amendments will take effect in January. They're beneficial, so it increases the contribution coverage from $250 to $500, and that it extends the cure period. So under the Levine Act, if you had accepted a contribution from someone and then an item came up and for action by the entity that you were part of, you could return the money. It used to be a 14-day return period. It's now a 30-day, or it will be a 30-day return period. Again, those will take effect January 1 of 2025. Last item I mentioned last time was Aqua. Obviously, BVK is hosting its client dinner on December 4th at Wally's Desert Turtle, and you've all been invited, and hopefully you've received your invite, and hopefully I'll see you there. Thank you.
I haven't received my invite yet.
Okay, great. San Diego County Water Authority.
Yeah, the Water Authority had the regular board meeting on October 24th. Pretty routine items. A couple items of note. The board awarded a design professional services contract to Wood Rogers, Inc. for a not-to-exceed amount of $3 million to provide as-needed civil and traffic and engineering services for a period of 3 years. The board also awarded a professional services contract to Pace Government Relations for a 24-month contract for federal advocacy services for a total compensable contract amount not to exceed $357,000. And the board held its biennial review of the representatives to the Metropolitan Water District Board of Directors. The board approved MWD delegate representatives Lois Fong-Sakai, Marty Miller, Gail Goldberg, and Mel Katz for the next 2 years. And that's my report.
Okay, thank you. Encino Wastewater.
Yes, we had a board meeting last week, and we discussed the capital improvement project status report, the administrative building climate control rehabilitation project final acceptance, and the janitorial services award.
Okay, great. Standing committees.
Yeah, I've got, the Finance Investment Committee met on October 30th. Items for discussion, fiscal year 2024 audit results, an investment portfolio update, and a spirited conversation on calendar year 2025 water rates. And the minutes are in this evening's board package.
Okay. The P3 committee met on Monday, and the good news is the joint letter between the city of San Marcos Fire, and Vallecitos Water District for homeowners insurance has been posted on social media, right? It was posted today. And I'm very proud to have been involved with that and brought that forward and pushed it out to the community. Let's hope that folks can use it. And I look forward to getting feedback, to seeing if anyone gives that to their homeowners insurance agency, and it does help them with their rates or help them stay on with that insurance company. We'll see. No guarantees, as it said in the social media post, but it might provide some outside validation that our area is a little safer, given the helipod execution.
And Aqua just picked it up also, so.
Oh, great, great. Okay, excellent. Anything else on the P3? Okay. Any other standing committees? Okay, director's reports on meetings, conferences, seminars attended. Nope, okay. We've all been kind of quiet, I guess. Okay. Any other business? Director's comments, future agenda items? No? Okay. Anything else? Okay, great. We are adjourned.